Hello and welcome back to our masterclass. In this session, I'm going to begin our journey into the art of preaching by sharing with you the direction of travel and one or two places that we stop along the way. This is the number 164 Red London bus, and it's the bus I used to catch every day to get from my home in Banstead to my school in Sutton. On the front of the bus you can see a list of the places that it will visit along its route, finishing up with Morden Station. Get on the wrong bus and you'll end up in the wrong place. It's those journey points I want to describe in this film. What are the places to visit in the journey from a blank piece of paper or an empty screen to a finished message ready to preach to God's people? And how can we do it in a way that carries God's word to the people in front of us? Now, of course, for us as preachers, the journey to any given talk is going to be slightly different. But there are some common landing points along the way, which I hope will help us to get to our goal. And it's those landing points that I want to identify in this session. Now, I'm going to assume that we will be preaching from a passage in the Bible. We all know that expounding a passage is not the only type of preaching that there is. You may want to preach on a particular topic and trace it right the way through the scriptures. You may be asked to preach at a special occasion like a wedding or a funeral and choose a Bible passage that's appropriate for that occasion. I've been preaching for over half a century. God, that stuff makes me feel old. And in my 50 plus years of preaching, the bread and butter of communicating God's word has always been to start with a passage from the Bible and expound it, expose its message, to reveal its wonder and apply as best I can. And the point that we want to do is to direct people towards Jesus Christ wherever possible. That is the backbone of preaching, which changes lives. Master this art and the rest will be plain sailing. So let's assume that we have a passage, Old or New Testament, doesn't matter, long or short, straightforward or tricky, and we're going to preach on it. What are we doing? Well, we're seeking to take the words of God in the Bible, his message, and translate it into our words. That's your talk or your sermon. And we trust that it will be heard by the people we're speaking to. We actually trust that God's voice will be the one that people hear when they listen to us. And I believe that if we take God's word and make it clear and relevant, then often it speaks for itself. And we need to do very little in the way of embellishing it or enhancing it. I just need to tell it like it is, tell it in a clear and compelling way. And that allows God's Holy Spirit to speak to people's hearts. So, one of the fundamental ideas we're going to be using throughout this masterclass is the concept of a bridge. A bridge connects two places which might otherwise remain disjoint and require an awfully long journey around to get from one to the other. As a preacher, you are a bridge builder, and your sermon exists to connect these two worlds that would otherwise remain separated. There's the world of the Bible and there's the world of today. Now, bridges are often magnificent pieces of architecture which take years to design and build. And we're going to use Tower Bridge in London, England, as our model. To be sure, it is a marvel of civil engineering. And if I had to choose a favourite bridge, it would be this one. I was born in Hackney, just up the road from Tower Bridge. And interestingly, when I drive across it, I hardly notice the bridge itself. The road just carries on from South London to North. And writing your sermon may sometimes feel like constructing a complex piece of word architecture. But the aim should never be to draw attention to the construction. The aim is to help people cross from one side to the other, so that the same God who inspired the Bible will be speaking to the hearts and the minds of people as they listen to you. They may not even notice they're crossing a bridge as they do it. So let's reflect on the two sides of this bridge. On the one side, we have the times of the Bible. By any estimate, the Bible's text is 2,000 to 4,000 years old. And most of it was written to societies which no longer exist, at least not in the form they did then. And I know numerous people, you might even be one of them, who have said to themselves, I'm going to read the Bible. This is my project for this year. And they've started reading Genesis very enthusiastically and in good faith, and run aground by the time we get into Leviticus. Now, why might that happen? Now, there are people who say, and have said to me, well, this happens because, to quote Paul, the God of this age has blinded the minds of unbelievers so they cannot see the light of the gospel. And I get that to some degree, but I can't say I'm comfortable with it. It seems to me to load the reader with blame for not persevering enough. I feel it's a somewhat dismissive explanation for something that in reality is much more down to earth. And that is that parts of the Bible are a tough read. The Bible is a library of books, and they're not all they're not all equally accessible. It was written in ancient cultures that we find hard to fathom. It was written to people whose laws and customs and attitudes often leave us mystified, at least they do me. So when we read the Bible today, we don't easily find messages which connect directly to our world in the 21st century. So if on the one side of the chasm or the river we have the era of the Bible, on the other side we have the society of today, which of course is much more familiar. And at some level we understand our culture, or at least we understand what it's like to live today much better than our grasp of what it might be like to live in Iron Age Israel, for example. And as preachers, this is our challenge, to build a bridge from the Bible's day and what God was saying then into our contemporary era, to proclaim what God is saying now. And the differences are huge. And I think it's worth reflecting on some of these differences. Consider lighting. In biblical times, nobody could flick a switch to flood a room with light. So when the sun went down, most people could do very little, and most work couldn't be done at all. So when Jesus said in John chapter 9, as long as it is day, we must do the works of him who sent me. Night is coming when no one can work. He wasn't just talking metaphorically, he was being very literal. When the sun goes down, that's it for the day. And everyone listening to him would instantly know that. Or take communication, for example. In Bible times, the only two ways to get your message from one person to another was either to speak to them face to face or have a message written down and delivered by hand. So when Moses calls down God's blessing using the words of Numbers chapter 6, the Lord bless you and keep you, the Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you, the Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace. The image he's conjuring up is of God being right there in front of you, right in your face, there to bless you, there to give you strength, in your immediate company. In fact, the bread in the tabernacle was called the bread of the face, because this is the bread that I eat when I'm face to face with God. Or take cosmology. Their cosmology was radically different from ours. By and large, they thought the earth was flat and you could perish if you got too near the edge of it. The ancient world had a wide variety of different understandings of what lay deep underneath the earth. And in Old Testament times, the conventional understanding was that the earth was supported by foundations, and everything, including the sky, was enveloped in like a tank of water. And the place of the dead lay just beneath the known terrain. Then, of course, we might instantly think of technology as a comparison or an area of contrast between the two. Their technology was totally different from ours. But it doesn't mean to say they were any less crafty in their use of their technology. I think to say that, or to imply that we are better at it than they are, is to use a sort of chronological snobbery that denies the deep research and the intense thinking that went into their technology. I mean, when David began smelting iron for his war machine, he was using the very best technology available. He was an Iron Age king, bringing into play the very latest in Iron Age innovations. So we could go on. Here's a little question for you might like to ponder. What would Paul have made of a photograph? Or what would David have made of music played on a pair of earbuds? Or what would Moses have made of a car? Now, actually, questions like this are not as trivial as they at first sound, because they help us to grasp the magnitude of the differences between the two worlds that we as preachers are seeking to connect. So, when we preach, we're crafting a bridge between the Bible's world and its culture and its assumptions into our own world, where we live by a vastly different set of rules. Well, from here, you can like, you can subscribe, and you can share what you've just seen with some of your friends. So please do click around on the screen here, and you'll find some other things that I hope will help to bolster your ministry. You could be anywhere in the world right now, but you're right here, and I appreciate that enormously. God bless you.